George Clooney goes on 60 Minutes and he talks about when the other three estates fail, when the judiciary and the executive and the legislative branches fail us, the fourth estate, the media, has to succeed. And Donald Trump responded in his normal, calm, measured way. Why would the now highly discredited 60 Minutes be doing a total puff piece on George Clooney, a second-rate movie star, failed political pundit? He fought hard for Sleepy Joe's election and then right after the debate dumped him like a dog. So look, a typical robust response, let's put it mildly, by President Trump to Clooney. But there's a bit of merit to what Trump is saying there.
That's precisely right. If Clooney is correct that the fate of America hinges on the establishment media, then I think we should all just pack it in at this point because there's absolutely no hope for the country. What Clooney is saying here has a foundation of political reality in as much as we have different branches of government and we have different political institutions. So we have the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, and then we have things like the establishment media, we have things like Hollywood, we have corporate America, we have all other power centers. And sometimes some of those institutions have more power than others. In the 2024 election, people elected, the majority of voters elected Donald Trump in no small part because the so-called fourth estate of the establishment media had failed, had lied to them. You don't need to take my word for it. Look at their ratings. Look at the ratings on CNN. Look at the ratings on MSNBC. Even the established networks on network news, CBS, NBC, ABC, they've all flopped. People don't believe them anymore. And so much of the Trump election was about shifting power to clean out corruption precisely in those quarters.
In a way, Rosie O'Donnell, who Vinny mentioned there, in a way, what she has done is a perfect illustration, I think, of part of the problem the Democrats have, and liberals generally with Trump. She's left the country. I mean, to be honest, fair play to her. She's one of the first liberal celebrities I've known who, having threatened to do it, actually did leave the country. Most of them, like Chelsea Handler, they just pretend they never said it. So she's gone to Ireland. I have to say, as someone who's Irish myself, what did they do to deserve this? But they've got her. And she goes on the big late-night show, the Patrick Kielty Late Late Show. I think we've got a clip, have we, of Rosie O'Donnell? Let's take a listen to Rosie O'Donnell here.
I question why the first time in American history a president has won every swing state and is also best friends, and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet.
I played that in the monologue of us, and I'm playing it again, Michael, because it's really worth thinking about what she's saying there. This is the liberal arm of America that has been ranting for 4 years, with good reason, in my opinion, that Donald Trump has refused to accept the result of the 2020 election and that he's an election denier, he's a democracy slayer, all these kind of things. Unless I'm mistaken, I played it twice, Rosie O'Donnell is sounding very like an election denier. This election, she may as well have said, it was rigged. It was a rigged election. It was stolen. Elon Musk apparently runs the internet, which will be news to Elon Musk, given he only owns one social media platform of the vast internet stratosphere. So, I watched her there thinking, well, here we have somebody literally leaving America because she can't bear to be there with Trump, but also now election denying, saying it was all rigged, etc., etc. None of that is going to make people want to vote Democrat.
Well, everyone knows Elon Musk doesn't run the internet. The internet is run by Al Gore, who also denied the results of an election before Hillary Clinton denied the results of an election, before Stacey Abrams denied the results of an election. So Rosie O'Donnell's argument here is pretty weak. Also, she's just wrong on the facts. She says no president in American history has ever won all the swing states. Ronald Reagan won 49 states in 1984, and he might have won 50. There were some shenanigans in Michigan. So she doesn't know what she's talking about, and that's fine. Plenty of left-wing celebrities have no idea what they're talking about. But the political problem for the Democrats now is that this is the best they've got. At least in 2020, whatever you think about that election, the Democrats did change all the voting rules right before the election. And in some cases, they contradicted state constitutions, like in Pennsylvania with widespread mail-in ballots. And they moved the ballot drop boxes away from county clerk offices. And at least you can understand why people were a little bit curious. This time around, though, no one's really seriously questioning that. So the best the Democrats have is that the rocket ship electric car man somehow zapped his laser from outer space to win Pennsylvania for Trump. Weak stuff does not bode well for the midterms, does not bode well for 28 for Democrats.
I agree with you guys. Some of the behavior of Bill Clinton, what he did was awful. But you see, Bill Clinton's not in office right now. Donald Trump is in office, and if you bring up his sexcapades and the horrible behavior and the things he's done in his life, all I hear is whataboutism. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. He is a liable sexual abuser. He's had 25 women coming forward. So, you know, we can keep talking about Bill Clinton and what happened 30, 40 years ago.
All right, Michael.
This is also beside the point, because I think most of us don't really believe that President Trump is a rapist or anything, to the point that Vinny was just making. E. Jean Carroll went on TV and said that rape is sexy, so she seems a little bit odd. I'm skeptical of her claims. And regardless, though, all of this was known to voters.
But that's not
all
the
of these
only
allegations,
person who's
all the
accused him of
smears.
that.
Excuse me one second. All of the smears.
25 women.
All of this was known to. Excuse me one second. I'll just try to finish my point like a civilized human being. All of this was known to voters, and most voters voted for Trump in November.
Yeah.
So the Democrats can keep trying to throw this stuff out there. Oh, the election was rigged. Nobody, not one person seriously believes that. Oh, Donald Trump is going to gut Social Security. Nobody believes that. We know what Trump campaigned on. Oh, Trump is a monster who's a rapist, murderer, a serial killer. Nobody believes that. So the political question, if we're in this tribal moment,
or maybe they believe it and they don't
excuse
care.
me one second, the two of you. You have a very difficult time listening to a reasonable argument. If we are in this moment,
I'm listening to you.
What argument are the Democrats going to make to convince voters, most of whom voted against them in November?
Every single time a judge rules against Donald Trump is always the guy that attacks the judge personally, attacks the judge's family, for example. And I don't care how much money this judge's wife has donated to a particular party. That is academic to what we are talking about here. Donald Trump does not respect the rule of law. And this judge ruled on this and made an order on this when one of those planes was still grounded. They attack every judge they disagree with personally, and then when a judge rules in their favor, they're brilliant, they're great. He says the same thing about a judge that rules in his favor as he says about Vladimir Putin. Brilliant, smart guy. I mean, I'm just getting sick and tired of this.
Brian, do you remember when the Dobbs decision was leaked, quite contrary to court tradition, and Chuck Schumer, the Democrat leader in the Senate, walked up to the Supreme Court and said, watch out, Justice Kavanaugh, watch out, Justice Gorsuch, you have unleashed the whirlwind. And then a leftist came from California to Washington, D.C. to try to murder Justice Kavanaugh. Could you please spare me the crocodile tears over attacks on judges?
I'll respond to that. Unlike you, Michael, I don't use whataboutism, and I'm willing to go after both sides. I didn't agree with that then.
Sounds like you're
I
going
don't
after
agree
the
with
right.
that now. But you notice what Michael, hold on a second, I'm answering your question. You notice what Michael does? I bring up points of Donald Trump attacking a judge, attacking a judge's character, attacking the judge's wife, and Michael starts talking about Chuck Schumer. You see, because Michael is in his right-wing echo chamber bubble, and he can't. Well, why don't you criticize Trump for going after a judge's family then? Why do you have to bring up a Democrat and Chuck Schumer? I agree with you.
Oh, I'm happy to answer
that. Was wrong also.
I'm happy to answer that. President Trump never said you've unleashed the whirlwind right before a left-wing assassin tried to murder Kavanaugh and potentially his whole family. President Trump pointed out that the judge's order was wrong, was ridiculous. We live in a country with a separation of powers and a balance between the various branches of government. We don't live in a country with judicial supremacy. President Trump was carrying out his rightful duties as president of the United States. To the point raised earlier, most people are on the side of President Trump here. We want to get the face tattooed Satan-worshiping gangsters out of our country. There's nothing wrong or illegal about that. And if the Democrats are going to fall in for Trump's traps like this, he's picking not 80-20 issues, but 95-5 issues here. For goodness sakes, he trolled Democrats into defending paper straws a couple of weeks ago. So if Democrats want to go all in on defending Venezuelan gangsters,
but let me ask you, Michael.
My guest, I can't wait for the midterm.
But Michael, let me ask you a question. I want to play you a clip from Tim Miller, because one of the people that's been rounded up here is apparently a gay Venezuelan man who may not be a member of the gang at all. Tim Miller said this.
Hey guys, it's Tim. I'm in a hotel, but I couldn't sleep last night after seeing the photos of Andre, the gay Venezuelan that we have been reporting on, who was sent to the El Salvador prison camp to be beaten with no due process. We finally get to see what he looks like. And let me ask you, does this man look like a member of Tren de Aragua? Does he look like a gang member? Look at this person. Is this fucking West Side Story? What do you mean? This guy is a dangerous gang member? This guy was so dangerous that our government had to send him on a plane with no due process to a dystopian hellscape?
Now, he's got a point, hasn't he, Michael? He looks the least likely member of a gang I've ever seen.
I'm always a little skeptical of claims that people like Tim Miller make, but let's just take it for what it's worth. This is the best Democrats have in a mass deportation campaign that was voted for by most voters because we have 11 to 16 million illegal aliens in this country conservatively, and we have organized crime totally controlling our southern border. The best they could come up with is one instance of a guy who maybe shouldn't have been deported. To me, that's not an argument against the deportation system. That's an argument in favor of the great efficiency and effectiveness of the deportation system. So, fine. Tim Miller is going to lose sleep at night because possibly one person who shouldn't have been deported was. I'm more likely to lose sleep at night because of the Laken Rileys of the world, because of the Jocelyn Nungarys, because of all the Americans who have been subjected to horrific crimes because Democrats have not only neglected, but in fact rolled out the red carpet for criminal cartels, murderers and rapists, to run roughshod over our country for decades. And I think that's where most Americans are too.
Okay.
I agree with you. We don't know all the facts. I'm with you 100%. We don't know if this guy who's gay is a gang member or not, right? But here's what we do know. The White House isn't providing us facts. They haven't had due process. Let it be known in court.
Why do they have to give you anything?
Let them have a defense.
Why do they have to give
first
you
of all,
anything? That's their job. You don't need to know, you don't need to know everything, Brian. Like any mission that we do, anybody
thought that this is what the transparency.
How do we know who is he connected to? How do we know who is he connected to? Brian, you don't want to blow the whistle on everything. These are things that you don't know yet.
Okay.
We're not supposed to
blow
know.
the whistle.
They're operations. These are called operations.
We're misunderstanding the basis of this debate here, too, because the way that Brian is speaking, we need to give all of these people, I don't know, lengthy court appearances, maybe put them up at Club Fed, get them a margarita or something. This is not ordinary. I'm using hyperbole for rhetorical effect. This is not an ordinary prosecution of, say, an American citizen. President Trump has designated Tren de Aragua and various groups as foreign terrorist organizations. President Trump has invoked a longstanding American law, the Alien Enemies Act. We have had an invasion that has been encouraged by Democrats for decades, and so we need to take swift action. And just those two measures alone open up greater avenues for deporting
But Michael,
these people,
are you comfortable? Are you
do.
comfortable with the definition of America being at war in that scenario? Because that seems to me to be the crux of the debate about using that particular act to do this, because it's supposed to be when America's in wartime, and that's the argument. It's like, look, obviously there's been a huge influx of people coming in illegally over the border, but is that the same as America being at war?
Certainly. This isn't just a random scattering of people who are crossing the border. What we're talking about here is an organized, extremely violent criminal element with total control over our border, working in concert, in some cases, with hostile foreign governments. What else would you call that but a war? You know, this is not just some economic migrant seeking a better life. So to talk about Tren de Aragua
I just think
or
that if
MS-13,
this was truly a war, they gave up the front. There's no one even crossing into the border anymore if this was truly a war. I mean, literally, I have sources on the ground and at the border, and they say there are 0 crossings. The people who got in, and they're hiding.
By the way, can we have a moment? Can we have a moment to just say, you want the first step to be made. You want America to join the Commonwealth, where King Charles, obviously, King Charles III, would then be the boss. I'm all in favor of this, but are you aware of what you're doing here? This is a slippery slope, is it not, to you embracing the return of the British monarchy to oversee you? You will be under British monarchical rule.
Piers, I want to state right now on television, I would prefer you to be King of America over AOC or Bernie or Chuck Schumer, or really many, many other people in America. So I'm following President Trump's lead here, okay? Don't shoot the messenger.
No.
President Trump has suggested that he would be open to an offer of joining the Commonwealth of Nations from King Charles. Worth pointing out, listen, I'm a descendant of an American Revolutionary War patriot, son of the American Revolution, okay? Simon Knowles, so I got good bona fides here. However, to join the Commonwealth does not necessarily require a republic to recognize the King of England as the head of state. We could join any number of republics in the Commonwealth who do not do that. However, what it is to signal something really deep here, which is that we have something in common. As Justice Scalia pointed out, our heritage is the English heritage. I look Italian, but when I go to Italy, I feel less at home than when I go to England, although now England is kind of Pakistan, so it's got its own problems too. But in any case, we recognize there are deeper cultural well springs to our country. It didn't begin in 1965, it didn't begin in 1776, didn't even begin in 1620 with the Mayflower, but it goes back all the way through the history of Western civilization. So if we want to make our civilization great again, with a world historic figure like President Trump, not so bad to associate with the people who share our heritage.